Welcome to Operational Harmony, Balancing Business and Mental Well-Being, a podcast with honest discussions about professional life and mental well-being in a natural conversational way. Your host is Nikki, founder of Nikki's Office, where she supports entrepreneurs through operations, systems, and strategy. And now, let's hear from our guest.
My name is Joshua Gragnani. I am with the International Business Advisors. I am a small business coach and advisor, but I'm also a multiple internationally best-selling author. I write books on small business, and small businesses pay me a lot of money to make them a lot of money. That's what I do, but that is a broad term, we would say. That's broad, right? Today, I think we can talk about one of my books that I actually just finished writing. It took me about 2 years to write.
2 years?
2 years. If I could write a book in 2 days, I would just be an AI and you would pay $15 a month to talk to me, but that's not how that works. It took me 2 years to write the creative aspects of it, okay? A book is an open-ended thing. You can take it wherever you want it to go, but there's a fair amount of research that you need to have in order to make it a book that maybe people want to read.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And because the book was written as a business book, we had to test and apply some of the strategies and things in there. And the book is on team management. It's the High Quality Leadership Handbook, okay? High Quality Team Leadership Handbook, which is, it started out as a leadership book, but is really based upon employees. As small business owners, as small businesses, and this is perfectly usable in a corporate setting, okay? You get promoted to be a manager, now you're responsible for a team. You're on the hook for whatever it is that they do. Nobody's trained to deal with people. We don't know how to deal with people. Even if you went to school and got a degree in management, are you really just automatically good with people? No, it's a very vague subject, right? I help small business owners. So I wrote the book as a guide in a way to give them some of the knowledge that I've learned. I had a business that I sold earlier this year. I had about 40 employees. Okay, that's a fair amount of dynamic stuff happening. And every person is different. The analogy that I use is that you can go down the street and you can find an unlimited number of fast food places. And every one of them serves different food. Even the hamburger places serve different hamburgers. Very specifically, there's no two places that serve the same recipe with the same items and the same ingredients, and nobody does that, right? We all know what that is. But people are very diverse, okay? For instance, I had a guy that was working for me that was 73 years old. We found out what he was good at, and then we had him do just that, okay? But that's an exercise in skill that you have to have in order to make those kind of decisions. What would you normally do? First of all, you can't necessarily look at people like they're tools, okay? They're objects, okay? Because you need to get people to do what you need them to do in order to accomplish whatever your goal is. And they're just pawns on the chessboard, and you move them around and you can put all your team people in place and everything will just go the way we want. Chess is probably a good analogy because that is difficult even for masters that accept and learn and train on all the strategies in chess. There are still ways to win and lose that game, and you never know what's going to happen. There's just too many moving parts.
More like herding cats.
Herding cats, yes, herding cats, okay? And we all know cats have different personalities and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
But we're all just human, okay? That's the one thing that we have that's in common, right? We're all just people. And what does it mean to be a people? What does it mean to just be human? That means we all have our own ambitions. We all have our own goals. We have our own flaws. And we have our own difficulties. There's things that we're good at and things that we're not. Okay? And another thing I use that I often say in business is nobody does all of the things in business, just in general. We're never checking 100% of the boxes. We're never beating every one of the competitors. Nobody is doing all of the things. A small business is not doing the things that the big business is doing, and a big business isn't doing all those things. They usually have bureaucracies and hierarchies and chains that they're very slow moving. They're not as flexible. So nobody can do all of the things. But that's how a human is. You just look at one person on your team. So the people on your team have their own desires. Now, there's a chapter in the book that really gets into Maslow's hierarchy of needs kind of stuff, right? And individual motivations. Now, you as a business owner, your job is to get whatever goal you've set and get it across the finish line. Okay. What is the corporation's goal? Right. And your job is to make sure that happens. You got to fulfill that. But in order to do that, you should align the individual goals of the people that are the ones that are actually going to be contributing to making this goal happen. And so that's very important, and how you have to have that alignment. I just said everybody's different. So what do we do? How do we do that? We need to identify what those motivators are. And it's different for each person. But like I said, Maslow is one of the things. There's a bunch of different theories on the psychology of workers. There's theory X, theory Y, those kind of things. I talk about a little bit of that in my book. But for those that are not familiar, the basics of it are the fact that some people are motivated by money, right? They just need that paycheck. They're going to do those sales commissions. They just want to have the most dollars for whatever it is that they need. But that's not everybody. Some people are motivated by title. They just want to have that prestige. They just want to have that business card with their title on it. They want to be able to tell their mom that I got a promotion, whatever that it is. Some people are motivated by job security. They may take a lesser paying job because it's more specific with the hours or number of hours, or the job's not going to go on the chopping block. We don't need you anymore, that kind of stuff. And it's more about long term. Some people are just, hey, I'm having a baby, so I don't care what job I get. I just need a job that I'm going to keep. Whoever will take me, that's what I'm going to do. And you have different motivations. Now, of course, there are combinations of those things, but in general, it's you have to figure out what motivates these people. Okay. So I'm going to talk through a little bit of an example on that. Okay. If there's a person on your team that's motivated by money, right? They want to be able to make the most amount of money. They want to make extra money. They're incentivized by money. Then you need to talk to them in terms of money. If you have a goal, let's just say, hey, we need to produce our product. We need to make 1,000 of these robots out by the end of the year. Now, does he care about how many robots he makes? No, he cares about how much money he makes. So if you tell him, I'm going to give you $1 for every robot completed, just on top of your normal pay, that person can be maybe faster at making those robots than he would otherwise have done, because he's trying extra hard to complete the project, maybe ahead of schedule. Why? Because you just tied a dollar amount and gave the time factor up to him. You could have 1,000 robots in 6 months. Okay. The purpose is that's $1,000 extra dollars on the table for the person. Okay. Is that okay to do? You have your 1,000 robots, maybe ahead of schedule, which you're going to then sell for money. So I've incentivized the person to move up their time frame to meet my needs, but I did it in terms of money. Same kind of thing. Okay. Another person. You have another person on the team. She's motivated by power. Okay. You know, that's common. There's always a few in the group, but that doesn't always mean that they have the skill or the training or ability to lead. Okay. For instance, somebody who's maybe new to the team, new to the job, right? You're not going to automatically make them to be the supervisor over somebody else who's been there for many years. That might be a difficult thing to do. But you can still give them responsibilities. You can make co-captains or team leaders or sub squads. You have a squad within a team. Your team is 5 people. Now you're responsible for this pair. What are you responsible for? Not actually doing anything different than you normally do, other than your job is to be the one of the two that reports up the chain. So just tell me what's going on with your team. No, you can't make any decisions or change what the plan is or do any of the kind of stuff like that. You wouldn't word it like that. You're getting to them where they are, to the figure of them and their peers. They're the one that you're trusting with the responsibility to then be the one that needs to communicate, to report what's happening with the team up the chain. Okay, to just put some above. I get this in that we have people who are good at their job. but maybe have no desire to be a leader. Okay, this is where this the flip side. Maybe I don't want to do that. That sounds like too much responsibility. It's too much work. But sometimes you need to promote people because they're still your best person, but they don't want to do it. So what do? You make them be that supervisor, but in the most tiniest steps that you can. You need to ease them into it, right? Because again, that's their psychological safety, right? That's what we call the safety, right? They don't want to be exposed for something they don't know. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to be known. They don't want to be responsible for other people's stuff. They don't want to be responsible for, they may be good at their job, but they're not good at telling other people what to do. And they think what's going to happen is the other people are not going to do their job and it's going to be their fault. It's going to fall onto them because they were the supervisor, right? So one of the techniques that I've used is I tell people that they need to be the supervisor of their own team, their team of one. Nikki, you're your supervisor today, right? I want you to be the supervisor of your team. You're going to be the captain of the squad of Team Nikki. So Nikki's going to do whatever Nikki has to do today, but also Nikki puts on the supervisor hat and is going to think of themselves as a whole team. What would you do with the team? You get the team across the finish line, you make a goal, you set it, you go there, and then you report that the goal is complete. Who do you report to, right? It's the supervisor's job of that team to make sure that happens. That's a mindset shift versus I'm just going to go out to work and somebody else is going to tell me what to do today. Okay. I'm just going to go and I'm going to go to do whatever I'm going to do today. And I'm just going to let whatever happens out there happen to me. And we all know we can't control everything, right? You're going to go to the grocery store and you're going to buy your favorite brand of cereal and they're out of stock. What are you going to do? You may not be able to just magically make it appear. That's not going to happen. That's out of your control, but there's environmental things. Now, are you, though, in the mindset, the ability to, one, understand what to do next? And two, do you have the authority to make the decision? So if they don't have the cereal that you want, you'll probably end up grabbing another one. Or maybe not getting one at all. Maybe your decision is to come back next week when they've restocked because you really want that one. Hey, that's up to you. But as the decision maker, as the squad leader, you've decided which of those two things you're going to do, and you have given yourself the authority to be able to do that, and you know what the decision is in your mind. Okay. Now, let's just say you sent somebody to the grocery store who's not you. Okay. Whatever it is. If you got a DoorDash or something, or you're going to send your kid or your spouse or down the street or whoever's going to go for you, they're going to make a different decision. They may come back with cereal you don't want at all because they're like, I got you something I thought was close. And it may be close or maybe not close at all. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
They don't know what you would have decided. You have the authority, the ability to decide for yourself. You have to think of these things in that way. And your team can be 1, 2, 3, 100 people. 100 people, 20 people. How many people work for you? How many people are on your team? You can still have a team size of 1. You can treat that 1 as a team. Okay. You have a team of 5 people and 4 of them got sent out on an assignment. And there's 1 person left that's still in the office on that day, on that team. Does the team not exist anymore?
No, they still
It
exist.
still does. What if all 5 people got sent out on an assignment? Does the team still exist anymore? Yeah, it does. Still somebody's responsible. Somebody will make those decisions. Somebody will have to decide something and stick with it. And how good you are at your job is an internal factor of a lot of things to determine, are you a good leader? But the fact is you are the appointed and designated leader of that team. Okay. And those are things to understand with people in that, like I said, it was an exercise that I did often. We're building people's ability to start as a team by telling them, you are your captain today of your team. You. I want you to report up the chain everything that your team is doing. I want your team to make good decisions. And I want you to accomplish whatever the team's goal is for that day. And how much of a difference is that really going to make?
For some people, all of the difference.
A lot of difference. It can. And you can go out and you can do your job correctly that day. Would you have done your job correctly anyway? Probably, mostly, maybe not. You're going to, but you're going to have a different mindset about one, what it is that you do, and two, what does correctly mean? Okay, because where is that accountability factor? That's a whole other thing. Okay, we're not just talking about accountability to themselves. Okay, that's its whole thing. Let's talk about self-accountability. Sure. This goes one more layer on top of that, in that you are the team leader of your team of one, but I bestow that authority on to you. I am also going to hold you accountable because I told you to do that. Did you not do that? Because when you come back and tell me, boss, something went wrong today, I'd be like, what did the team leader say? The team leader should have reported that in during the time that it happened, not at the end of the day when I ask, how did things go, right? That would have been a good team leader. So maybe that's a lesson that they can be more prepared for that situation tomorrow when we talk about that at the end of the day. But maybe they did. Maybe they did. Maybe it gave them a sense of fulfillment and justice and responsibility and care. We call it care. You have to care about your job, right? And those kind of things that we discuss, in that we give them the responsibility to make those choices, and therefore they can build that framework in their mind how they want it to go. It's an open-ended thing. You're the team leader today. What does that mean to you? It probably means something different to you than me, but there are some things that it means. But that accountability is, I've heard many times that you are 80% more likely to complete a task when you've said it out loud to another person, right? And so that's a lot of goal setting and those kind of stuff, and telling people and being responsible for your decisions, okay? But again, I'm giving the authority for a person to internalize that. And internally, that's a big deal, right? That's a mind, what is going on? I've never heard of that before. This changes my whole reality and perspective. And it can. You're right. For some people, that could be a lot. Now, when you've consistently demonstrated your ability to, one, follow the instruction that I gave you.
That's a hard one for people.
Instructions is a whole other thing. That's why we start them small. I'm not going to put you on your first day as the team leader of 5 other people who have been there for a year. You're probably not going to do that good, right? You don't have all the instructions. I don't even know if you know how to follow instructions, right? But again, we're starting with baby steps. Just what about Bob? Baby steps. In that I'm giving you the responsibility of a team of 1. And I'm going to see how you're going to do with that. Okay? Because it's okay to make mistakes, but are you trying? Are you understanding? Are you willing? Some people be like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Like, this is weird. I don't want to do that. That doesn't make sense to me. I've had every one of those people, and maybe it takes more than once, right? Everybody picks it up on the first day to really fulfill it. But as we implement this in multiple days, we discuss how that it went with other people. Person number 2, how did it go today? In front of person number 1. So they can absorb and hear and learn how to do it and those kind of things. In that, some of the people are actually responsible for the team. They have a different instruction. But those people that I've designated specifically, and it's not necessarily as effective, you just designate that to everybody. But when somebody is ready to test them out and to start learning and thinking, you say, okay, you are responsible for yourself today. And that's not a self thing. That is you are responsible for the team. So elevates that just a little bit. That responsibility level becomes a little bit more. But we discuss it in front of other people. And that's a transactional type of leadership is what they call. Okay. Which is you will reward your top performers publicly in a way that, so if you said we're going to acknowledge and encourage the top 20% of people for the day. They did a good job. But we're going to say they did a good job in front of everybody else. So everybody else knows what they're trying to do. And we will correct the bottom 20%. to tell them, look, this is what we probably could have done better. We didn't do quite right. But we do it publicly in a way that it's not shaming or belittling or anything. This is a learning moment. Learning moments are super important because if somebody makes a mistake, and you're talking about like on a factory floor and it's a potential safety issue or something, if somebody makes a mistake, everybody should stop what they're doing and let's discuss that, because the guy standing next to him is probably just as likely to make that same exact mistake. If we never talk about it, they're not going to learn.
Or he's panicking because he has done it before and he's okay, no, don't do that. And he's not listening.
You have to also tell them this is what happened and this is what went wrong and this is how it should have been done. This is what you have to do in the next time. Maybe you give them a few scenarios. If this happens, you do this. If that happens, you do that. Okay, now you're going to be, because tomorrow we all start the shift again. It's all a fresh day and somebody else can fall into that same pitfall. They'll make that same mistake. If somebody made it randomly, then another person is randomly going to probably come to that same conclusion. It was a common sense option. You pick up a piece of hot metal without a glove. Okay.
Yeah.
If a person wasn't there that day, they were homesick and they didn't see that I said, okay, look, the gloves are over here. You need to get them. And then you pick up the hot piece of metal with the gloves. The next person doesn't know that. They're going to come in the next day and they have the option. They have the ability to make that same exact mistake because nobody actually stopped and told them this is where the gloves are that you pick up the hot stuff. And that's a very simple example, but we all make those simple mistakes. It's no big deal. You didn't tie your shoe, you step on your shoelace, you trip on it, right? But if we stop and tell everybody why specifically that it's a very big safety issue that your shoelaces can't be untied working in this industrial setting, then maybe the next person, even if it's later that day, looks down and sees their shoe untied, is going to think, you know what? I should probably tie that right now instead of maybe not caring about it, right? It was something that I said to do, right? That's instructions. But as far as that goes with telling people to be the leaders of their own team, right? You can instruct the people and not everybody takes instructions the same. They don't take them the same way or to the same degree. I always feel I use specific words to tell you instructions because that's exactly what I want you to hear, but that doesn't mean you hear it that same way. Those words may mean something different. And that's okay. Look, you cannot give somebody a job. You need to go and drill holes in this wall and then not give them the tools. You don't have a drill. How are you going to do that? And metaphorically, the instructions are the tools when you need to complete a task. If you don't give them the instructions, I had a conversation with somebody a couple nights ago, same kind of thing, in that you should not expect to give somebody instruction once and you've done your job. That's not instructions. Instructions are potentially as many times as is needed. Now, if it becomes where that's a problem, where you're instructing this person over and over on the same thing, then that's a different issue, right? That's an issue that we should address by itself and in a bubble and just say, does this person not understand what the purpose is here? Or do they not understand the words that I'm using? They choosing not to follow instructions, right? There's a whole array of things that can happen when that's going to happen. But the rule is that one doesn't have to be the final rule. If you give somebody instructions once,
in my experience, giving somebody instructions once just means they're going to come back and ask again. I help a lot of people with IT. And as soon as some people can be the smartest person when you're talking to them, and then they sit in front of a computer and their brains leak out their toenails or something. I don't know what happens, but all of a sudden when you say left click, they right click, or they're like, what does that mean? I've had to teach somebody how to copy and paste an unimaginable amount of times. So for me, I only get frustrated when it's within the same call. Like I was showing somebody ChatGPT the other night, right? And you have to log out because they logged into the wrong account. You have to log in at the bottom left. You have to log out at the bottom left corner and then log in at the top. I had to say that 7 times. And by the end of that conversation, I was done with ChatGPT for the day. Because I was like, okay, I get it. If you're not computer literate, I understand having to help you. but click the bottom left and the first one above that is log out. And then click the top right where the big black button says log in. I don't particularly feel that should be a difficult thing to do. I don't feel like it should take 7 tries. But
you didn't give up on
it
them.
does.
You didn't give up on them.
No, but I didn't get frustrated with them. Like, they probably didn't know that I got frustrated. But afterwards, I went out to my friend and was like, I don't mind helping people. I don't. But some days I'm done doing it because it does get frustrating when you're saying the same thing on repeat. I don't like it when things repeat. So when I have to repeat, I feel like I sound like the idiot. What am I not saying correctly for you to be able to understand when I am going as simple as I can? Bottom left, up one, top right, big black button. There's no extra things I can say in there to help you understand it anymore. So it gets a little frustrating when I feel like I am going dirt floor low and you have somehow lowered the floor and I'm still not getting through. I usually figure out at some point, you know what? We're logged in now. We're good. I don't have to say this ever again because you're not logging out of this ever again. It's just how it's going to have to be. Or I get to the point where it's okay. So you have your Zoom meeting, right? And I'll go, okay, let me clicky. Let me do the clicking and I will show you what I'm doing and what I mean. So drag their mouse so they can see it and stuff like that to be able to say, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. These are the two things we're going for. And then they're like, oh, okay, I didn't see that. Okay, maybe we need new glasses. Something. I don't know why you can't see that, but to me it's obvious. And so I sometimes have to tamper down my own duh because I understand that other people aren't as quick with it. And it's not like they're stupid. You have a conversation with them. They're running their own business. They are intelligent people. It's just they let tech overwhelm them very easily. And so like that you tell them one day and then you have to tell them the next and the next until finally they're like, oh, I think I get it. And you're like, thank God, yay. Because it does sometimes take 100 times. And it's not because the person's stupid. It's just they learn differently and you have to figure out where they are.
You displayed the ability to be the captain of a 2-person team, you and that person, right? You didn't give up on them. And it is frustrating sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But the fact was, some people could potentially have given up on that situation or any of those situations like you're talking about. And after 6 times, they're just like, you know what, this is not going to happen today. We're going to do something else, right? And it's not about the follow through. It's not about that you did it the 7th time, you did it as many times as needed. It's about you made a decision. You assessed the situation. You looked at it and you could say, potentially, maybe it's not that they don't understand the instructions, it's maybe they don't have glasses on. You looked at other scenarios and tried to figure out for this person, because they were not able to figure out what their own obstacle was, and you tried to figure that out for them. Those are exactly those kind of things with being that team leader, right? Because you don't know what people know. You're right. They could be a business owner and be doing really well, but technology, some people will just go blank. Just go blank. Oh, it has a power switch? I don't even want to do that. I know people like that. They're like, I don't even have a phone. Okay. And meet them where they are. Meet them where they are. Okay, maybe we should start something before that. Maybe we need to talk about what the difference between a left click and a right click is. Because I just assumed it because everybody knows. And we're going to go ahead and do this. And being able to do that gives you authority to make decisions and guide how this is going to go. Okay. Those are the kind of things where we say that when you're the leader of your own team, you should also be doing for yourself. And you probably do, but you may not realize you're doing it. Me bringing it up and assigning it to you and telling you this is your job for the day to be the leader, we're bringing it up to the surface, and that can help you because nobody's going to be the leader of their own 1-person team today and be running the company tomorrow. Okay,
No,
you move up the ladder that fast. No, but it's a start. That's how
Nepotism, but no, not usually. It doesn't work that way.
I don't want to say, but many of those people don't know what they're doing. No person in particular. Now, that's okay. Some people, they grow up in the family business and they know it very well. Totally know what you mean. But the point is that whether you be young, too young, old, too old, male, female, any other thing, color of your skin, race or gender, poverty or rich level, whatever it is, that doesn't define your ability to then be that leader. For instance, I worked at a company where it was heavily male, but we encouraged females to apply and be part of the team. Many historically male figures may not necessarily want to think that they should take orders from a female. Why is that? I don't know. I just feel that way. You know, what does that even mean? Is there a reason? Are you telling me that they're not good at their job? Because remember, I talked to you about the guy that was old. We found out what he was good at. Okay. He's 73 years old. They owned a moving company. He could pack boxes. He could pack dishes faster and better than anybody else on my team. Could he lift a piano or carry a dresser up the stairs? No. But some of those guys were not good at packing boxes and making dishes and wrapping them and labeling them.
Yeah.
He was good at that. You find out what people are good at. Now, I'll tie that back to what we're talking about. The leader of your own team, because one day you are going to be responsible for another person and you are going to have multiple people on the team. And again, I gave you the example of a 2-person team where no decisions were made, no instructions were given. Your only responsibility was to report what is happening on that team. But that's a big step for some people. They've never had that responsibility to do that. And it slowly builds their ability to do things. So when they do come to be a leader of a team, now let's say your team is 5 people. You've been here for a while. You're the person who's been here for a year. And now you suddenly have a new person. You know how many times I've heard, oh, this guy sucks. You know, why did you hire him? He's new. Of course he's not as good as you, right? I know. Okay, of course, right? But your job today, your job is to train him up as a wheel that fits as a cog into your team specifically. I wanted you to train him on your method, your way. You've got your work refined. You're obviously the leader of this 5-person team. You know what you're doing. I want you to train him in a way better than he would train himself out of a book or from another team. You think your team is a higher performer than the other 5-person team because you have better methods and skills and your team people are in there, right? You need to get this guy to learn that specific stuff so that he can better contribute to your team. Find out what he's good at and what he's not. Oh, he's shy, he doesn't talk to customers. Then don't make him talk to customers. Give them tools. Those guys can work with tools, they can work with their hands, they can be solo, and they can get stuff done. Figure it out. So now you have the responsibility for figuring it out. Remember, you are the captain of this 5-person team. But you're training on the job training for this person, but you are building them exactly into the gap that you have. Along the line, when that becomes successful, you as that team leader have more confidence in yourself. You have more confidence in the ability to then train that next person, okay? And ultimately, you take those team captains, those team leaders, and you explain to them one day, and besides you explain to them, now it's your job to train this person. Needless to say, training is your job. Your job is to integrate them into the existing ecosystem. You're going to have to talk to them about those motivations that we talked about way at the beginning. Are they motivated by money, by prestige, by time? Some people just want to be the know-it-all. Some people just want to be the center of attention. Some people just want to be the boss. They don't even care if it pays more. They just want to have that title. I have had so many people like that when they're new. They just assume that they're going to be dominating over other people. Okay. But at the same time, there's a little productivity trick for you. Every time I hire somebody, I tell the whole team, This person has the ability to work their way up on performance and outperform any of you. It's their first day. Who knows? You might think that they're going to be sloppy, but maybe they come from another company and they were there for longer than you were here. They might be do exceptional. And guess what? I'm not going to tell them, no, you have to sit the bench just because you're new. Anybody can be replaced on the chain if somebody comes and outperforms, because my job, right, is to get the whole team across the goal, those corporate motivations. And then that's what they have to do with their teams. But it makes the existing people not get lazy in their jobs. They need to perform. And not everybody's a leader. Some people will never be a leader. But I haven't met anybody that over time hasn't been able to at least be the leader of their own team. It takes time. Some people pick it up right away. We all have different things. But so your middle management, your team people, your 5-person squad, those leaders are going to need to have some training from you to explain those psychological intricacies to them. What's the difference between a person who's not good at their job and a person who's having a bad day?
Not good at their job is every day there's something, and having a bad day usually is only the day. Usually.
Sure. The average American worker may not be able to actually distinguish between the two as often as you might think, right? Because they're only thinking about themselves, and this person is dragging the team down because they're just off today. They suck at their job. You should fire this guy. Do you know that he was at the hospital last night because he just had a baby? And guess what? He actually showed up to work the next day. That actually shows a lot, because he needs to make the money. He needs to make the money, and he's willing to forego sleeping because he needs them. And he still shows up for work, and he was on time. He was on time. He had a baby at the hospital last night. He was on time. And by the way, you were 5 minutes late today. So I don't want you judging that person. Okay, that's the difference between having an off day. You're right. If it becomes a pattern, maybe they're not good at their job. I've had plenty of people who have been well at their jobs and fall off over time. Down the road, it's not always a guarantee that a person is going to get better and better at their job and rise forever. Some people get bored, they get tired of it, they get complacent, they change their methods. There's all these psychological necessities that a person needs to feel safe in their job and job security. A new person comes on and makes more money than they do, that's threatening. Other people are getting promoted, they're not getting promoted, that's threatening. Other external factors in their life, okay? They moved, they bought a new car, they have additional expenses. Nothing has changed at work, but now their needs for their monthly budget has gone much higher, and suddenly they're no longer satisfied with what their earning is. That's one of those things where we're identifying that stuff with. And a lot of that is observation and discussion. Talk to your people. So I often relate managing a company of people like parenting in a family, right? There's no one and hard and fast rule. In some families, the mom makes all the decisions. In some families, the dad makes all the decisions. In some families, there's not a mom or not a dad or 2 dads or 2 moms or 3 moms or whatever, or none at all. None at all. Maybe you're an orphan. I don't know. Or maybe you're just grown up and moved out of the house on your own. There's no one and hard, fast rule, okay? There's definitely people out there who are prepared to be parents, and there's people who are not prepared to be parents. So I had twins as my first kids. A little bit extra responsibility, just having fun. You can only be so prepared, but the same kind of thing in a business. Some people are, hey, I'm a good cook, I think I'm going to open a restaurant. Those are 2 totally different things.
Yeah.
But there's a huge aspect when it comes to that human component. The human component. You may be good as a plumber. All the pipes and the glue and the fittings and the screws and the water and the bulbs and all the different things, and you're good at your vocation and your trade. But does that make you automatically a good person to run a plumbing company?
No.
Not if you hate people. Not if you don't trust people. Not if you're going to feel frustrated at the time consumption of having to instruct people maybe more than once. Oh, I know this because I've been a plumber for 30 years. So you should know this because you've been working for me for 30 days. I just expect you to be perfect all the time.
That's not how it works.
But that's how parenting is, right? Do you expect people in your family to be perfect all the time? We all hope that they are, but that doesn't always mean that they do. So I've learned a lot of aspects on the management, or it really has to do with psychology and humanness and that mental attitude. And the thing that you can control as a business owner, even as a manager, right? You don't have to be the owner, is as your responsibility is build those people up, because you're preparing them for one day, then they're going to be in the position that you're in, that they're going to be helping other people. And whatever that is, that could be 3 companies down the road at another place. Some people will never be leaders, but they are going to eventually be the leader of their own day, or they're going to fail at it, right? If you can't take your own responsibilities and do your own stuff and those kind of things, and we were not all born out of the womb with that. It takes time. But you have to build up those kind of things. So if you have the impact and the influence, you have the ability to do that for other human beings, you have a little bit of a responsibility to make an effort to do that, to try it, to be well at, build up another person, because that's going to affect their whole lives. Even if they move on to another job in another place, they're going to start at that job a little bit above where they started when they had worked for you, because you actually did something. They were not just a tool. They were not just part of the machine. They were not pawns on the table. You built them into, just like I said, it's the responsibility of a team captain to integrate that person into what you need them to be. If you need people to be good at their jobs, you should have it as your responsibility to make them good at their jobs. That can create happiness. That can create fulfillment and confidence. If you explain something to somebody that they didn't understand, they may be more satisfied with their job at the end of the day, instead of just going home and say, my job sucks. Or, you know what? I actually had fun at my job today. Did they get paid the same amount that day? Yes, whatever. It may not be about that. It's about identifying and meeting people where they're at and learning what they are, and just thinking about, we're all humans, okay? And as the business owner, like I said, everything to me is about business, is that it's your job to do these things. Just open up the doors. Here's a toolbox. Here's a book of instructions. See you at the end of the day.
Yeah. One of the ways I do that is I make people either laugh at me or themselves. So I had a lady who came to me who was having trouble with her computer. She couldn't get it to do what she wanted. And I had her on Zoom sharing her screen, and I was clicking, and like I would click, and I'm telling you, it would take 3 business days for anything to happen. And I was just like, how old is this thing? Like, how much RAM do you have? And she's, I don't know, it's getting pretty old. And I'm like, dude, your computer is going Mach Jesus. You need to not do this anymore. Like, you really need a new computer. And I'm afraid I bullied her a little bit because she was like, yes, I'm planning on getting one. It's down the road a little bit. And I was like, okay, but you really need one if you expect to be able to do anything with any kind of haste, because your computer literally is taking a minute per click. And that is insane to me. And she ended up getting a new computer like 2 days later. The next time I saw her in one of the meetings on Alignable, she was like, I have a new computer. And I was like, I feel a little bad. I might I mean, she did need it, but like she was laughing at me. But I was like, that's good. Maybe now you can actually click and have things happen instead of nothing for minutes.
It's the difference between a drill and a screwdriver. Maybe it can still get it done, but at the end of the day, you're going to put in less screws if you do it by hand. And so what is it that you really need? You need the drill? No, you don't need the drill. You have a screwdriver, but what you need is to finish this on time.
You need to be able to, because she was trying to do something. I don't even remember what she was trying to do. But like, she had to click on 3 different things on a website to get to where she needed to be. First of all, I'm not doing that all day long because that's going to annoy me. And to have to do it and wait a full minute to 2 minutes before anything actually happens. No, I'm throwing the internet away. I'm throwing the computer away. I am redoing everything because we are not doing it this slow. It's just not, I'm not patient enough to deal with lagging anything. I get irritated when I'm gaming and things start lagging. No, this isn't supposed to be going this slow. Somebody's going to die because I'm the healer. Somebody's dying. And then I feel bad. But also get out of the lava. I don't know how many times I've had to tell people that. But there are just some things, the tools you have to do your job should not be a hindrance, but should actually help you.
I'm working on creating some modules on standard operating procedures and trying to make a really simplified template version, or at least a way that you can create your own very simply, because it's an overwhelming task for some people. And every high level SOP should have a directory of smaller subtasks that should each have their own instructions. Again, do we have all of those? No. Should we have all of those? Maybe. Could they be helpful? Yes, they're always going to be helpful. But getting those things designed and trying to figure all that stuff out sometimes is a hard task. When was the first time you used a drill? There's always a first time.
Yeah, I was a kid.
Did you ever figure out that your screwdriver was better than the drill? In some instances.
Only if it was a tight squeeze.
That's right. There are times. So it's an evolving thing. Nobody's expected to have everything right the first time and have to be perfect. So don't expect that from your people, but they expect you to give them the tool. They expect you to give those instructions.
Yeah. And I'm also one of those people who, if I see a desktop that is not neat and has like more than 10 things on it, I'm going to say something.
Don't look at mine.
I could tell you were going to say something as soon as I started saying that. That guilty look came over your face.
I have piles on my desk, but they're sorted by priority. The top of the stack is what needs to get done first.
Oh, no, I don't mean your desk. I mean your desktop on the computer.
Oh, you mean the number of tabs I have open?
No, don't look at tabs.
Don't look at the number of tabs I have open.
Yeah, no, let's not do that. I have a tab management problem myself, but where your pretty picture is of whatever. Some people have 90% of their files there. I saw a screen one time where a lady had tiny little horizontal pictures that went through the whole screen, and then tiny little vertical pictures on top of those, like to one side of them, through the whole thing. And she could click. And I was just like, do you realize how slow you're making your computer? Oh, yeah, there's a little bit of a lag, but I didn't think this was the reason. Yes, 100% that is the reason. Please stop doing that. You should not have that many files on your desktop. I have literally 10 things on my desktop at any time.
I probably don't go to open things from my desktop 99% of the time.
Yeah.
If they're my daily things, they're pinned to my taskbar. I only have so much room, so you're only going to get pinned there if I damn use you every day.
Yeah. I have 3 screens, so I have a little bit more room on my taskbar to put things because each screen has their own taskbar. But so I probably have too much on my taskbars, but my computer can handle it. If your computer can't handle having 15 things spread over 3 screens on a taskbar without lagging, then maybe that's not something you should be doing, and you should have it on the start menu or the files.
If you find that it's disruptive, then you have the authority to assign yourself the decision to change that.
Yes.
Because you're the captain of your own team today. You're Nikki Team 1.
I am always Nikki Team 1. And like today, I have right now like 3 editing things up, Discord's open. I have way too much open for what I'm doing. But as soon as we're done with this, I have a video to edit. I have people I talk to on Discord. I have things to do that I have to do because that's what my business is, doing things for other people.
Yeah, if I close all my tabs, I'll forget that I need to do something in them. So that's why.
Yep. That's a good excuse and we're sticking to it, right?
Yeah.
I have a bad tab management problem, but I also spread that out to 4 different browsers, so it doesn't look quite as bad. But I also know people who have 16 YouTube windows open, and I don't understand that. Like, why would you have that many open? And then they have 6 of this other thing. I have a program I use because I am in charge of 20 different Gmail accounts where I have to go in and make sure that they're okay and get things for people. And so I have a program I use to be able to go into all those instead of having them open on some random browser that I have to now go find.
I get that. I have the same kind of thing. I have 3 browsers open at all times that way, and I group things by the browser just to keep it more efficient. But if I had 6, I'd probably use all 6 of them for something or other.
As long as you're not using Edge or anything Microsoft related as a browser, you're doing good.
It's for one, and I only run things that are Microsoft products that that are intended to be used in there. When I have to log into Outlook, that's a Microsoft product, you use the Edge to do it because you're more likely that it's compatible. But yeah, it's a spot to put stuff, which unfortunately has happened.
The only good thing for Edge is to download Chrome or Firefox or Opera, anything else. That's another thing I'll pick on people. I'm like, you do realize that nobody uses that, and you probably shouldn't either. I had somebody tell me that they used DuckDuckGo as a search engine, and I just went, do what? That was a game as a kid. What are you talking about, a search engine? And they're like, yeah, this is this. Okay, 3 people use that. Maybe you should go back to Google. There's a reason everybody uses Google.
Yeah, I tried it once. It was not what I needed it to be, so.
Yeah, because I used it on their computer because that's what they had open at the time, and I did the search, and I was like, this isn't the results I was expecting. This isn't what it should be. So I was like, let's switch back to Google, and look, these are the results you need right here at the top. And so I was like, just go with Google. And that may be where somebody's, oh, you just use what everybody else uses. No, because like I said, I use all of them. I use Chrome, I use Opera, I use Firefox.